22nd, 2022 is hereby called to order. Ms. Carleen, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Adams is absent. Mr. Grow. Mr. Melvin. Chairman Wendell.
Here.
Mr. Arabi. Mr. Otan. Mrs. Chesson. Mr. Lorraine. President Chesson.
If everyone would please rise, our invocation will be led by Mr. Grove, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Lorraine. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on behalf of the council, I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. If you'd like to address the council on any item tonight other than an ordinance for adoption, please fill out a blue public cushion to address the council form located by the rear exit doors and turn it into the council clerk prior to item H on the agenda. Start off with item A, approval of minutes. Have a motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mrs. Chasson to accept the minutes of October 25th, 2022 regular session. All in favor? You have something, Ms. Lorraine?
Yeah, I just want to, it's a correction, but I guess it'll stay like it is in a minute. When we were talking the other day, me and Mr. Chasson was going back and forth and some of you guys, and we brought up the deal, I brought up the deal about, I didn't know if Thibodeau was coming in on this road sales tax too or not. Nobody really knows. That's the answer I got. But I was said, Mr. Chasson said that I was incorrect on the 28th. If you don't turn in everything, your propositions for the 28th of December for March 25th, you're not on. Now, you could turn it in later. You got I'll tell you what, I got it right here. March 25th, deadline proposition 12/28/22. So he said I was incorrect twice, but I just want to let the people know that I was correct.
My apologies, sir.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Lorraine. Okay, original motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mrs. Chasson. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item number 2, motion to accept the meetings in November 7th, 2022 special session. Motion by Mr. Arabi, second by Mr. Otan. Any discussion on that one? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item number 3, motion to accept the minutes of November 9th, 2022 special session. Motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
We're going to correct those, the ones on road sales tax too for those 4 projects.
It's already
right?
on the agenda. We have 3 budget amendments on the agenda.
All right.
Any other discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Moving to item B, state or federal legislative updates. Don't see any in the audience. Item C, Lafourche Parish Outstanding Citizen. We don't have any. Item D, certificate of recognition. Item number 4, Parish President Archie Chasson will present a certificate of recognition to the Bayou Community Foundation in honor of their 10th anniversary. Mr. Chasson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas October 1st, 2022 marks the 10-year anniversary of the founding of the Bayou Community Foundation, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition that is valuable and impactful public charity serving Terrebonne, Lafourche, and Grand Isle. And whereas the Bayou Community Foundation works effectively to address critical community needs, strengthen nonprofit capacity, promote philanthropy to create compassionate and sustainable coastal communities for decades to come. And whereas over the past 10 years, the Bayou Community Foundation has awarded $2 million in grants to local nonprofits to fund critical human services, education and workforce development, and coastal programs through its annual nonprofit grants program. And whereas since Hurricane Ida made landfall on August 29th, 2021, the Bayou Community Foundation has invested over $5.9 million to fund nonprofit relief and recovery efforts serving local residents. And whereas the Bayou Community Foundation has granted over $1 million specifically to nonprofit organizations based in Lafourche Parish after Hurricane Ida for the distribution of food, water, clothing, and supplies, temporary housing assistance, educational supplies for Lafourche Parish teachers and students, and repairs to community buildings that serve residents in need throughout the parish. And whereas the Bayou Community Foundation has made housing recovery a priority with $300,000 awarded to date to Bless Your Heart nonprofit and the First Baptist Church of Golden Meadow for campers and building supplies to provide shelter to home and repairs and Lafourche families who lost their homes in Hurricane Ida. and additional housing recovery programs now being developed. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Archie Chasson, President of Lafourche Parish, on behalf of our parish council and members of our community, do hereby extend our sincere congratulations and appreciation for the 10th anniversary of the Bayou Community Foundation. And Mr. Chairman, I will say that if you went to their gala the other night and you got to see their founding members and all the great work, Jennifer and Mr. Henry and Mike and the rest of their board of directors, these guys are rock stars in what they have done for our community through COVID and the hurricanes, and our parish is forever grateful for them. So thank you guys and congratulations.
Just make sure the microphone's turned on and just state your name and address for the record, please.
Jennifer Armand, 602 Clayton Drive, Houma, Louisiana. Thank you, President Chasson, and thank you to Chairman Wendell and all of the council members for this recognition. As it was stated, Bayou Community Foundation was formed 10 years ago this fall after Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, Gustav, Ike, and then the 2010 Gulf oil spill. Our founders realized that our area needed that philanthropic bucket to accept donations from across the country and across the world when and if the next disaster would strike. And we are surely grateful that those founders had that foresight and vision 10 years ago, because the Bayou Recovery Fund has truly been working overtime since Hurricane Ida. And we could not have done it without the strong support of donors in our community, throughout the state, and really throughout the country. And we're delighted to have been able to invest nearly $6 million so far in initial relief and recovery for our area. And we're looking to invest another $2 to $3 million over the next year, with housing recovery, as President Chasson said, being our primary focus. And when it's not disaster recovery, Bayou Community Foundation is delighted to be able to award grants every year as part of our annual nonprofit grants program to local nonprofits that are really doing the hard work on the ground, addressing critical services for our youth and our elderly, healthcare, mental health, education, and a host of other critical needs. So thank you very much, and with your support, we look forward to continuing partnering with the Lafourche Parish Council, Lafourche Parish government, and residents throughout our precious Bayou region to make us better and stronger than ever before over the next 10 years. Thank you very much.
Your group has done some amazing things with, investing and giving back to the community, and we'd like to thank you. Anybody have any questions, comments for Ms. Armand or the group? And next year for your gala, I would just suggest something along the lines of roasting the parish president. That always seems to draw a crowd.
You're right.
Thank you guys very much.
You're right. Thank you all very much.
Okay, we'll move into item E, presentations and/or updates. Item 5, Vic Lafont and Deanna Lafont to provide a presentation for South Louisiana Economic Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Vic Lafont, President and CEO of the South Louisiana Economic Council, housed on the Nichols campus, Thibodaux, Louisiana. You should have a report in front of you. This is our third quarterly report, and all of you are by now pretty familiar with what we're doing. But it was a busy third quarter, and I'm going to be brief. We sat down before getting the reading. We kind of all made our rounds with you guys, and Deanna reaches over and says, 3 of them at least told me to be brief. So we're going to be brief with that. Okay. There's a whole lot in here, but basically what it comes down to is just our new project announcements, project updates, and everything we're doing on a daily basis is not in here. The only things that have in here are projects and programs that have had significant differences between the last quarter and this quarter. go to our website if you want to really see everything we're doing, or Facebook, if you want to keep up with what we're doing. So, what I do like, with the encouragement of the parish president here, is that instead of you all trying to absorb everything at once, President Chasson just asked me beginning a few months ago to say, hey, can you just maybe come in and have someone that's in charge of a project, a program that you do, and talk about what we're doing. So we started with CTAG. Lacey was here maybe a month or so ago to give a report. This time we're going to have our business selects business development, Deanna Lafourche, who does all my recruiting and retention work. I don't know how much time, Archie, we have to the end of the year. You'll just have one more meeting, and you'll probably are cramming business. But next one I'd like to come by is either Laurie LeBlanc to talk about emerging energies, or Cody Blanchard about the strategic plan. So, and by the way, anyone participating in the strategic plan, appreciate anything, and giving back the feedback and information that you've been doing. So with that, to save time, I'm going to call up Deanna to talk about what she's in charge of with SLEC. Is that okay? Is that okay with everyone? Okay.
Hi, so Deanna Lafourche, 414 Abbey Road in Thibodaux. I'm not working for Entergy anymore, so if there's any Entergy questions, please defer to somebody else. It's not me. But it's great to be here and just kind of update you guys on some of the really good work we're doing at SLEC. As Vic mentioned, doing some business development work for them. So I'm going to talk briefly about 3 programs that I'm running. The first, back in August, in partnership with Entergy, we did a recruitment trip to Houston. So it was a lead generation trip. We had 8 visits with some C-level executives in the emerging energy space, advanced manufacturing, and metal fab. We also took some time to visit with a lead that we're currently nurturing to hopefully bring to the Bayou region in the next kind of mid-2023. It was a good trip. This is something that SLEC hasn't done for a while. We had some really good participation from some companies that are interested in the emerging energy space, and we've been able to fold them into our emerging energy initiative. So it's great that we've been able to kind of be a little more aggressive in our recruiting and starting to do some things like that. Another program that I think you guys are a little familiar with is the ROI program. So this is a contracted lead generation. We also do this in partnership with Entergy. ROI is a company that goes out and mines this database, and they find companies that are truly going to do projects. So they make the initial contact, and they put us with the right person, and they say, hey, are y'all really interested in doing a project? And then from there, we have a call. So we've had 7 of these calls this year in the chemical manufacturing, food manufacturing, logistics, advanced manufacturing, and plastic manufacturing industries. These are in a variety of different stages. We're still in conversations with some of them. We're also still nurturing this project from 2023 this project from last year that came to us through this process that hopefully will have a location decision in 2023. So, this is something that we've been really excited to be able to bring to the partners in the parishes, and, it's just some real value-added recruitment activities that we can do. And then the third thing I want to talk about briefly is I think some of y'all know I just got back from Guyana. We were we helped sponsor a Department of Commerce trade mission. So Guyana had a very large oil and gas find back in 2015. ExxonMobil's out there. And we've heard time and time again that there's just a lot of synergies between the country of Guyana and the Bayou region, and it's true. They have a lot of money that's starting to come into the government, and there is no infrastructure. And time again, we heard that they literally need everything, and they do. So they have seafood, they have agriculture, they have oil and gas services, and they're about where we were 60 years ago. So this is a very early stage initiative, but we know that there's going to be some opportunity for our companies here. So we are In communications with the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce. We met those folks when we were out there. They have about 700 members. We're probably looking to do some things in partnerships with them to help identify, good opportunities for some of our companies here. And then we're also hoping to bring a delegation over after the Offshore Technology Conference in April. There's a group of folks that'll be in Houston, and we had a lot of conversation about saying, hey, instead of getting back on the plane, why don't y'all, drive on over to Louisiana and let us show you what we have. So that's the end of my brief speech. Does anyone have any questions?
Anybody with anything for Mr. Vic or Ms. Deanna? No, ma'am. Thank you guys for the update.
No, thank you, guys. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Okay, we're moving to item 6. Ms. Becky Gotro, Parish Chair and Extension Agent for Lafourche Office of LSU Ag Center, to present a quarterly report. Ms. Gotro.
Hey, Becky Gotro, 410 Lee Drive, Thibodeau. In front of you, you have our third quarter report, the little quarterfold. Sugarcane production is fantastic and up to a record year. It's coming out beautifully. We just finished Master Cattleman classes. It was about 10 weeks long. Miss Randy Lynn Toops coordinated all of those. We have over 950 4-H members this year, which is really exciting and awesome. And hopefully you all got a letter inviting you to be a judge at Pet and Poultry Day next weekend on December 3rd. If you didn't and you're interested, chairmen and ladies, call our office and please, we can put you on the list. Even though you have a kid in 4-H, you can still come and judge. It's delicious. And it's at our office in Raceland. Christy and I continue to paint sidewalks across the parish and schools. And then we hired a fisheries agent in August, Miss Haley Gamble behind me. You're going to hear from her. And then we also hired a new 4-H agent, Miss Suzanne Drosclair. So, Haley?
Haley Gamble, 1025 President Street, Thibodeau, Louisiana. Thanks for the opportunity to give a brief introduction of myself. As you can probably hear from my accent, I don't have to tell you that I'm not from Louisiana. I'm here from North Carolina. Been in Louisiana about 3 years, did my master's at LSU within the crawfish industry, and then took this position, started in August. So I have been burning very expensive fuel these past couple of months, just really trying to shake as many hands as possible, meet as many people within the seafood industry, as well as within the crawfish industry in Lafourche Parish. That's my background, so working to try to keep researching that alive and learn what's going on in Lafourche. I'm also shared with Louisiana Sea Grant, housed on LSU's campus, and our mission is outreach, education, and extension. So what I ask of you all is if there's any programs within coastal issues or fisheries, I work closely with BITNEP and CPRA, attending community meetings. But if there are anything that comes to mind that needs help down the bayou or anywhere, please reach out to me and put me on it, and I want to be of assistance where I can be. So thank y'all.
Had a comment, Jim.
Mr. Lorraine?
What about the crabbing industry and the shrimping industry, which is, crabbing industry is throughout the parish, I can tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shrimping industry, these people, it's almost a dead issue, the shrimping, with all the imported stuff. I don't know what you can do or what you can't do.
Yes,
but,
sir.
maybe you need to, check out some stuff on the southern end. There ain't got many sheds left, maybe a couple.
Absolutely, and that's what I've been doing the past couple months, is going to visit docks, visiting with fishermen, and really just hearing the issues. So I do know the issues in the industry, and working with people who are higher up to hear about.
Since you're from North Carolina, I can give you a guy, and I'll see it right here. Go find Dean Blanchard, and he'll give you an earful.
I have met him, yes, sir.
Okay.
I sure have.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Otan?
Yeah, so I'll just comment. I always tell a story that Lafourche Parish had a marine fisheries agent. He was actually in South Lafourche for a very long time, and I graduated, go off to a shipyard, and got laid off, and actually spoke to him. He was actually helping people at that time is when soft-shell crabs were just kind of coming about. Kind of talked me into my first degree. I actually majored in marine biology. So anyway, that's kind of how I ended up down that path, was by an LSU extension agent.
Yeah.
But the reason I want to make a comment is we met yesterday, at our community center in Lockport, the Lafourche Parish Community Center. There's gonna be a pond dug in order to move some dirt, and then we'll have long-term pond. And I know one of the things that y'all help out with is, recreational pond management. So I mentioned it to Archie yesterday, and we're certainly gonna be engaging you guys to assist us, because I know that's a pretty monumental task to get a pond, to keep a pond healthy.
Absolutely, and I might know who you're talking about. I spoke with a guy on the phone who was trying to do that a couple weeks ago. So please send that to me as well. Any questions with that? We have some resources, and I know a little bit, but I can ask around and I can figure out the answer.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Oten.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Troxler. My address is 140 Pecan Street, Thibodaux, Louisiana. And I am blessed to have been able to work with the youth of our parish, of Lafourche Parish, for the last 33 years, both in our public school system and in our Catholic schools as well. And now I'm blessed to start a new career, again, working with children, over 950 in our 4-H Youth Development Program. 4-H is very close to my heart. It's been part of me since I was 9 years old, and was in 4-H all my 9 years. My children were all 9 years through high school, and have been a 4-H leader for over 25 years in Lafourche Parish. My roots are here, graduated from Catholic High School in Thibodaux, and also from Nicholls State University with both my undergraduate and my master's degree, and Loyola Marymount University with a certificate in Catholic school leadership. Blessed to be a part of the formation of over 950 youth in our parish in a very grassroots effort. Making an opportunity for all, which is part of what we do in 4-H, to make sure that we're forming these children so that they can be global citizens, so that they can go out and serve their communities and be strong leaders. It's a part of what formed me, and I look forward to being a part of a team that does that for our youth in Lafourche Parish. Thank you.
Any other questions for the ladies? Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move into item F, Legal Advisory Report. We have none. Item G, Engineers and Architects. Mr. Jack.
Good evening, Jack Plaisance with T. Baker Smith at 1100 South Acadia in Thibodaux. Not a lot of activity, but we're getting close to closing out East Side Drainage Phase 1. This project is in the lean period. All the work is done. We're expecting to finalize the final payments next month. That's for Phase 1. We are coordinating now with administration and Public Works on the Phase 2 project and getting that started off. Next slide, please. I've mentioned this before. We did submit a statewide flood control application throughout District 8 and 9 along 3235. There's 5 areas of interest. You see 2 up here in La Rose, but there are 5 areas of interest where we want to do some improvements along Highway 3235. And we'll probably hear back from the DOTD in February as they finalize their review of these applications, and hopefully we did well and we'll have this project funded. Next slide. I've talked also about the GIS portal that we're doing for Lafourche. This is an integrated mapping system that shows boundaries, field offices, municipalities, recreation districts. We met last week with Public Works to move into Phase 2. There's 4 tasks, 4 phases of this project, and we're beginning on Phase 2 now with updates to parish roadways, subdivisions within the parish, drainage right-of-ways, different easements that the parish has. So we're excited about this project and had a really good meeting with Public Works and some other folks. And that's my report.
Anybody with any questions for Mr. Jack? Mr.
Good.
Lorraine.
That project's just about done, huh? The east side drainage.
It's done.
The second phase is the pump station?
That's what we're looking at in Phase 2.
So you guaranteed to keep it clean like you showed us for the next 6 months?
Keep it clean.
Yeah, beautiful. Everything dug fresh, and
Yeah.
so you guaranteed to keep all that clean, huh? I'm just messing with you.
Yes. it should stay pretty clean in the winter months.
For a while.
Less weeds, less
a month.
vegetative growth.
Thank you, Ms. Lorraine. Anybody else for anything with Mr. Jack? Thank you, Jack.
Thanks.
Is that it? All right, item H, public wishing to address the council, Ms. Carleen.
Mr. Kurt Schwest, come to the podium. Mr. Schwest, state your name and address for the record. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mrs. Bevan. Curtis West, 209 East 39th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana. I am president of the 10th Ward Memorial Board. It is my pleasure to address this council. We would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, to the people of the 10th Ward, to all Lafourche veterans and their families, and to this council and the administration and your families. Thanks for y'all's support for the 10th Ward Memorial Wall. This year we are on schedule and on track to provide transportation for about 250 veterans to VA doctors and appointment clinics from Houston to Jacksonville, Florida. There is an organization called Tour of Honors. They are based on the East Coast somewhere, and every year 4 people travel to the United States to judge the veterans' parks. And for 4 years in a row, our park has been in the top 100, and no other park has had this honor. Years 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. And in 2021, they showed up in October, and Ida was in August, so we didn't win any awards this time. I'm asking all the voters of the 10th Ward on December 10th, please go out to the polls and vote. Vote yes to our millage renewal of 0.9 of a mill, which a mill is 1 penny. We would like to thank Mr. Daniel Lorraine for all his help in the campaign of passing and completing this. And thank you for your time. Happy Thanksgiving, and God bless America.
Mr. Lorraine?
Kurt,
Yes, sir.
yeah, that place has been there right at 20 years.
Yes, sir.
And we started off with a 1 mil property tax, and it's down to 0.98, which is close to a mil, but we never raised it, we always lowered it.
That is correct.
And, you know, a lot of people are unaware of the 2 vans that y'all have that you transport all these veterans that are sick to wherever.
Well, that's why.
Florida,
that's
Texas,
That's why we just mentioned.
Veterans Hospital. And I know you've lost a bunch of them, but this is just a renewal. And the early voting starts November 26th to December the 3rd. So it starts Saturday till December 3rd. They close on Sunday, so it goes to from Saturday to the next Saturday. And then the election is, like you said, on December the 10th. But we need to get as many as we can to early vote, because that's where you win the election, that is in early voting. And there will be the little trailer behind the Burger King and the library right in the middle. So once again, we thank the people that first gave us this millage, and y'all asking to renew it. This will be the 3rd time, every 10 years. So I see for veterans, it's a small price to pay. So we want to thank the people who always supported it, and I hope that they continue to support it. Thank y'all, and y'all do a very good job from La Rose all the way to Golameda. There's a bunch of active guys in there.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine, for all your help.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Thank you, Mr. Kurt. Mrs. Carleen?
Mr. Ross Brunet, if you come to the podium, sir, state your name and address for the record. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
Ross Brunet. I live down West 143rd Street, Cutoff, Louisiana. I'd like to address the board on the RV permits. I think it's at this point in time, $150 for most people to pay for RV permit, and the stipulations that y'all putting them through is outrageous. Not only that, y'all getting them to sign a waiver that y'all not to hold the Lafourche Parish and FEMA accountable, which our taxpayers' dollars goes to that. And I think that is unconstitutional, and I think it needs to be challenged.
Anybody with any questions for Mr. Ross?
My chair's sinking, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I guess I broke the air spring, I don't know. So, I mean, we could look at the permit fee on a case-by-case basis, but the waiver at the end of the permit packet basically says that you have to leave the wheels intact, and it's gotta be road ready, and that's not our requirement, that's a FEMA requirement, right? That if a storm comes and we call an evacuation, that you can hitch to it and get it out of here. I don't know how we challenge that, but, I mean, I'm game for suing FEMA, but.
Why charge though $150 to people that's living, most of the people are living in the camper, and some of them, they bought a camper because they can't afford to buy a home that was destroyed. And y'all putting them in a situation to where y'all forcing it down their throat.
So it all depends on how you, it all depends on how you come in and apply for it, right? So in the building code, you are not allowed to live in an RV camper permanently. So the RV campers that we have through the FEMA process and the state's program are only temporary shelters, right? If you were to come in and I said, well, look, I lost my house, and Archie wants to live in a camper full-time, we would deny you a permit anyway, because you can't live in a camper full-time. So it all depends on how you come and apply for it. If you were coming in and said, look, I want to put an RV camper, in Leeville, stay while I'm fishing, then there's some different stuff. But it all depends on how you come in and when you apply for it.
When I applied for the permit, that's all she gave me was that information, and I had to sign a waiver.
Okay.
It's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
For property that I own.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna charge me to get a permit. I think that's the problem in my rights, I mean, the free society, y'all charge me for it, tell me how I can live and can't live. And that ain't right. I mean,
Welcome to the government.
well, the government, you gotta remember, the government works for us.
I think,
Mr. Lorraine?
yeah, I think the whole thing is messed up, including FEMA, because just like I know and everybody else sitting up here knows, that if you got an RV, you're supposed to move it out every 180 days. I'd like for somebody to tell me how many has ever moved in Lafourche Parish after the 180 days. It's never happened. But that's their guidelines. So FEMA has a problem with FEMA. So just think helping the people. And I'm not blaming nothing on Archie. It's just he's caught in the position. And I guess sometimes you got to do what they tell you got to do, but it doesn't mean that it's right.
I'm gonna get with the girls. We have your name and address. I'll get with the girls in the permit office, and we'll try to figure it out. I'll talk to them on Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Brunet.
Thank you.
That's it, sir.
Moving to item I, council reports, news and announcements. Mr. Otan.
I'll just make a general comment about permits. So thank God for building codes, because the developments that were pre-building codes, you could tell after Hurricane Ida passed. And yeah, people living in campers, and there's lots of them now. If those campers don't move, then we as a fire service and people who do have homes, we deal with those campers and the debris field that they leave if they're not moved out. So certainly a lot of people don't like building codes in these permits, but I can tell you, you can see the difference that it makes. With that said, though, I do want to report on Friday, December 2nd, at the Lafourche Parish Community Center in the North Lockport Curve, the big community center. There will be movie night with Santa and Friends. Doors open at 5:30. Santa arrives at 6. Movie starts at 7. Every kid that shows up will get a gift from Santa with photos. We're going to have little fire pits outside where the kids will be able to do s'mores. There's going to be games on the inside, free hot dogs, chili, hot cocoa, etc. All free to the community, to anyone who shows up. The next thing I want to say is I just want to congratulate the 3 public high schools. The bands this year were absolutely phenomenal. South Lafourche, Central Lafourche, Thibodaux high schools, they had absolutely phenomenal turnouts at all the marching festivals. They represented Lafourche Parish really well this year. And because of that, Lockport Volunteer Fire Department, doing business as Community Crusaders of Lafourche, we participate in a couple of these festivals throughout the parish. We granted each one of those schools a $2,500 donation to purchase new instruments. So anyway, I just want to recognize the 3 high schools, their marching bands, outstanding job this past year.
Thank you, Mr. Otan. Do we know the date of the Lockport parade, Christmas parade?
So I was focused on movie night. Very good. Thank you, Jim, for slapping me in the back of the head on that one. December 3rd, the Lockport Christmas Parade will roll starting promptly at 5:30. Anyone who is wanting to put a trailer or vehicle, participate in the parade, please contact Town Hall in Lockport. New mayor there, Barry Plaisance, hit him up. But anyway, yes.
5:30 PM.
December 3rd, parade promptly starts at 5:30 PM. It will be a night parade. We went to days last year because of the hurricane and not having a lot of lights and poles still leaning and stuff, so it is back to a night parade this year.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else? All right. Moving to item J, 2023 budget amendments. Item 7, amendments to the 2023 operations and maintenance and capital budgets as follows. Amendment number 1 to the 2023 proposed operating maintenance and capital budgets. 2023 proposed capital and outlay budget. Project 22040, LaRose and Golden Meadow Turfing is being financed from 110 Recreation Budget and the Capital Budget Fund section. The 2023 proposed capital project detail is listed as road sales tax 2 and is recognized as a typo. The correct financing source is recreation. Have a motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mrs. Chasson, to approve amendment number 1. Any discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Amendment number 2 to the 2023 proposed operating maintenance and capital budgets. Project 22053, Fitness Court, is being financed from 128 rededication budget and the capital budget fund section. The 2023 proposed capital project detail is listed as road sales tax district 2 and is recognized as a typo. The correct financing source is rededication. I have a motion by Mr. Otan, second by Mr. Araby, to approve amendment number 2. Any discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Amendment number 3 to the 2023 proposed operating maintenance and capital budgets. Project 23006, Race and Rodeo Arena is being financed from 110 Recreation Budget and the Capital Budget Fund section. The 2023 proposed capital project detail is listed as Road Sales Tax District 2 and is recognized as a typo. The correct financing source is recreation. Have a motion by Mr. Otan, second by Mr. Araby, to approve amendment number 3. Any discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. We're moving to item K, ordinances for discussion and ratification. Item 8, ordinance adopting the 2023 operations and maintenance and capital budget for Lafourche Parish Council, as well as setting the salaries of unclassified employees as provided by Article 5 of Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. I have a motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mrs. Chasson. And these public hearings were held November 7th and November 9th, special meetings. Any discussion on that? Take that to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. We'll move into public hearing and ordinances for ratification. Item L, motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mrs. Chasson to open public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item number 9, an ordinance recognizing the tax dedication of Warehouse Street, the entire length of 475 feet, more or less, and the entire width of 40 feet, off of Greenwood Plantation Road, Ward 1, District 2, Thibodaux, Louisiana, into the parish system, and hereby placed onto the Lafourche Parish Government Public Street List, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. I have a motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones. Okay, do we have any public comment? Second call public, third and final call public, any council discussion? All right. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Otan to defer to the December 13th meeting, second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion on that?
Why?
It has to have 2 public
Has 2 public hearings, so this
Okay,
one and
making
next
sure.
one. Any further discussion? Araby. All right, we'll take that to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item number 10, ordinance approving a lease agreement between Laurel Valley Plantation LLC and the Parish of Lafourche for the purposes of operating a bayou-side dock on Bayou Lafourche and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Melvin, second by Mr. Oten. Any public comment? Second call public. Third and final call public. Any council discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item number 11, ordinance providing for a 2022 supplemental appropriation 22-018 within the 2022 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to adjust for year-end projections to be in compliance with state budget requirements and to de-obligate capital outlay projects and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mrs. Chasson. Any public comment? Second call public. Third and final call public. Any council discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones to close public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item M, proposed ordinances. Ms. Chasson, will you do the honors?
Proposed ordinances number 12, establishing four-way stops at the intersections of Fern Lane and Market Street, Emerald Lane and Market Street, and Garden Lane and Market Street. Raceland, Louisiana, Ward 3, District 6, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana. Installing the necessary four-way stop signs at each intersection and providing penalties for the violations thereof. Mr. Terry Araby. 13, proposed ordinance establishing three-way stops at the intersections of Fern Lane and St. Philip Street, Emerald Lane and St. Philip Street, and Garden Lane and St. Philip Street. Raceland, Louisiana, Ward 3, District 6, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary three-way stop signs at each intersection and providing penalties for the violations thereof. Mr. Terry Araby. 14, proposed ordinance approving a servitude agreement between L&C Cattle Company Incorporated and the Lafourche Parish Government in the Raceland area, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Terry Araby for administration. 15, proposed ordinance amending and reenacting Chapter 8, Animals and Fowl of the Code of Ordinances as it pertains to the Lafourche Parish Animal Shelter, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Mr. Jim Wendell for administration. 16, proposed ordinance approving a purchase agreement between the Lafourche Parish Government and Beryl Sullivan to purchase the property located at 404 Green Street, Thibodaux, Louisiana, 70301, in the total amount of $770,175.24, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Michael Grove for administration. 17, proposed ordinance providing for a 2022 supplemental appropriation 22-019 within the 2022 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to create a budget for maintenance of St. Louis Canal and increase budget for industrial flood wall 10027, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Mr. Bo Melvin for administration. Sponsor, and A. Oten for administration, co-sponsor.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move into item N, resolutions. Item 18 has been pulled. Item 19, resolution appointing 1 member to Lafourche Parish Community Action Advisory Board, Low Income Sector, South Lafourche Region. Motion by Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, who do you have?
At this time, I'd like to nominate Ms. Angela Mort.
Ms. Angela Martz, have a second by Mr. Lorraine. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 20, resolution reappointing 1 member to Lafourche Parish Tourist Commission Board representing the town of Golden Meadow. Motion by Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Lorraine, who do you have? Kyle Williams, have a second by Mrs. Chasson. Any discussion? We'll take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 21, resolution reappointing 1 member on the Lafourche Parish Animal Shelter Advisory Board representing Council District 3. Motion by Mr. Groh. Mr. Groh, who do you have?
Reappointing Dr. Eugene Dial.
Dr. Eugene Dial, have a second by Mr. Oten. You have a list for, All right, motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 22, resolution appointing one member to the Hospital Service District Number 1 Board. Motion by Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Lorraine, who you have? Ms. Ruby LeBlanc. I have a second by Mrs. Chasson. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 23 has been deferred to December 13th. Do we need to vote on that, or we just defer it? All right. Have a motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones to defer item 23 to December 13th, 2022. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 24, resolution reappointing one member on the Lafourche Parish Animal Shelter Advisory Board representing Council District 1. Motion by Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, who do you have?
Major Elliott Day.
Major Elliott Day. I have a second by Mrs. Chasson. Any discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 25, resolution amending resolution number 22-233 that appointed one member to the Housing Authority of Lafourche Parish Board. Motion by Mr. Araby.
Phyllis Major.
Phyllis Major. All right, Ms. Phyllis Major, I have a second by Mr. Otan. Any discussion? All right, we'll take that to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. All right, item 26, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Lafourche Parish Government and Fire Protection District Number 3 for hazmat operations, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Otan. Any discussion? We'll take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 27, resolution approving change order number 2 from Pro Scales and Construction Services LLC for the project titled Hurricane Ida Repairs, Raceland Ag Facility Phase 1, decreasing the contract price by $5,100.00 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said change order and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Araby, second by Mr. Otan. Any discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 28, resolution approving an agreement between the Lafourche Parish Government and GIS Engineering LLC for professional services for the project titled Lockport Elevated Wetlands Boardwalk, Phases 2 and 3, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Otan, second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion? Take that to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 29, resolution accepting the low quote of Labado Thibodeau LLC in the amount of $23,900.00 for the installation of a canopy cover at the Head Start building in Thibodeau, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item number 30, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and ELOS Environmental LLC for the coastal restoration and carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration planning framework consulting services, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 31, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Picciola and Associates for engineering services for the project titled Pump Station Rehabilitation Project, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion?
What really is that? Working on pump station?
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have agreements with several of the engineers to redo the pump stations post-Hurricane Ida. This is an amendment to their contracts to put the state fee curve into it, so we know how much we have to pay them.
So Archie, what, those 2 pumps we had below the floodgates, we gonna be looking at that?
Yeah, we're working with FEMA right now on the benefit cost analysis, right? Because there's only 3 houses left in a camper.
No, it's not for the houses. I wanna protect the house, yes,
But the road.
but it's the levee.
No, I understand.
All that property, I can tell you, if we let that go, all that water's gonna come to the road, and that's that levee. Then you ain't got nothing protecting. You got a good bit of property right there protecting that levee.
We actually made a play to buy out that property, but several of them didn't want to sell.
Well-
And they're outside the levee system, so we're caught in a catch between FEMA saying, are we gonna go spend $3 or $4 million for 3 structures and something that, in the grand scheme of things,
But I'm
Ain't that
concerned
right?
about that levee. I mean, look, the houses that were there were at the FEMA requirements. In fact, we had one that was done with the elevation of the federal
5 of them
government.
that were done that way.
Okay, and they were basically all gone. So my concern is that levee system to the south. If we let all that property go, we might be called Leeville if a good one hits. So we did have a pump.
You had 2 pumps. You had one by Mr. Mobley's house, and then you had the
Yeah, you got
Saranac
electric pump by Mobley, and by Saranac, you had a mechanical pump
Yep,
with a brand-new pump system.
yep.
The pump,
Which is now somewhere in the marsh, because we can't find it.
the motor's at the barn. We got an engine. We were supposed to change the engine for that pump station. It's still there. Well, it should be there. So that's only my concern is that, and they were offered to be bought out 25 years ago. Some people took it, some people didn't. And so they were offered more than one time. You know, but I figured one big storm was gonna come and something like that would happen, but you don't wanna see that, but it happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lorraine. On item 31, motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones, with no further discussion. We'll take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item 32, resolution approving an agreement between Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation and Tourism, Office of State Parks, Division of Outdoor Recreation, and Lafourche Parish Government for the Land and Water Conservation Fund project titled Lockport Ball Fields, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Otan, second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion? Take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item number 33, resolution supporting the submittal of an application to the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries through the Sport Fish Restoration Wallop Bro Program for assistance in the implementation of repairs to the Rose boat launch, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones. Mrs. Chasson.
Yeah, are we still gonna do what we're gonna do with it? And then, but try for this grant?
This is an addition to, yeah.
This is an
So we-
addition
We
to.
still have 155,000 in the budget for next year to do some initial work.
Right.
This is the addition to stuff.
So we can do it completely?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Otan.
Yeah, so just 2 comments. I'll just remind the public again that we spent a lot of money for that property. So I know I still catch flack from a lot of friends and family about the condition of that launch, but we spent over $300,000, so it just takes a little bit of time. It's coming. The second thing I'll report is it was a good draft site last night for a house fire, so we were able to pull a fire truck right up to the boat launch and suck water out of it.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, item number 33, with no further discussion, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Item number 34, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Advanced Tel LLC, doing business as Rev, to construct a fiber broadband network in the vicinity of Lafourche Crossing pursuant to Gumbo Grant Number 18, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mr. Melvin, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I think Daniel broke my light. He was jealous, so he broke mine.
The
It don't
light
work.
doesn't work.
The light don't work. Now, I want to publicly thank Rev and Robbie from our communication staff for working on this Gumbo grant. This is the first of what I'm hoping will be many, to plug in some fiber for a section around Lafourche Crossing on Highway 308 for a couple of doctors and some lawyers that during COVID did not have internet capabilities to do Zoom, look at patient charts. So they're going to have that ability now. And now we're turning our attention to a couple other areas of the parish, like Pointe-aux-Chenes, the Prairie, some other places that don't have internet service or reliable internet service, and working with these guys on some more of these Gumbo grants. So I appreciate their assistance and willing to partner with us.
Thank you, sir. Item 34, with no further discussion, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, being Mr. Adams. Item 35, resolution providing for canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the special election held in the parish of Lafourche, State, Louisiana, on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, to authorize the rededication of a special tax therein. Motion by Mr. Lorraine, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, this one passed, 16,932 yes, 11,031 no. This was the whole parish, Thibodeau, Lockport, Golomet, and the rest of it. Passed by 5,901 votes. There was no increase in anything. It stayed the same millage that they've been having for a few years. The only thing it did was authorize them to build a building and buy some property. So hopefully they'll be in peace after this.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine.
Thank you.
Any other further discussion? All right, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, being Mr. Adams. Item number 36, resolution accepting the low quote of Weeks Marine Incorporated in the amount of $842,500.00 for emergency dredging of Grand Bayou in LaRose, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any and all relevant documents. Motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? Mr. Otan.
Yeah, so a few questions. Seems like an odd one for us, like that we're dredging. I'm guessing that is state water bottoms, Archie. So first question is this going to be a FEMA reimbursable item?
So it's not a federal nav channel, so the Corps, nobody's going to come in and do it, so it kind of falls on our back to do it. We have had some discussions with FEMA as well as NRCS through their EWP program, so we're pretty sure we're going to get the money back.
Question, have we engaged our state delegation for assistance, i.e. Joe Giron, state rep? I'm not sure. Have y'all talked to him or not yet?
Not yet. I deal pretty much directly with Chip up at CPRA.
Okay.
The state has already given us some money for the overall Grand Bayou project, which is how we're going to pay for this. So with the money's there. We're not technically spending parish dollars. We're spending what the state gave us already for the overall project.
I saw that it notes about high salinity. I'm sorry I didn't actually before the meeting.
go
I should
ahead.
have, but we had all these other things.
This all
going
came
on.
up today, really. Yeah, the open bids this morning.
It mentions high salinity levels as monitored by who?
Apache. So Apache has several monitoring stations on the lower end of Grand Bayou. We have a yearly agency meeting with ConocoPhillips and Apache, which is where it came up. We know we have to open up the channel for the bigger Grand Bayou pump station project, but when Tim mentioned at that meeting what they were seeing with salinity levels, if you talk to people like Mitch and people who fish down there a lot, we've noticed changes to the marsh and the habitat over the last year and a half because of the hurricane. So we just finally pulled the trigger and said, screw it, somebody's got to do it because nobody else seems to want to deal with it. So we're biting the bullet and taking the bull by the horns with it.
I got you. It was just a shocker that you said Apache. I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, they've been, look, they have been really cooperative. ConocoPhillips has been really cooperative. We had a great meeting today with Mr. Larice and Ms. Lucy Nakan as part of the overall Grand Bayou project plus this, and we were able to secure a 99-year lease on their property to build the pump station today with the help of their attorney, Mr. Sidney Trish. So the overall project is moving along pretty darn well, but this is just the first step to get some water flowing. So we'll go from the intercoastal waterway to the bridge on 24. We're going to skip over the bridge and then go from the bridge almost all the way to the new Reggie Bagala floodgate, which is where the Terrebonne Levee District left off when they dredged the rest of Grand Bayou after the hurricane.
And Weeks Marine, so I'm guessing when y'all put this out, it was very clear because the disparity in the quotes is pretty significant. Like, wow, I mean, they're 50% of the higher end.
Somebody was hungry, apparently.
I mean, normally you see some wide, but that's really wide.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Otan. Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, Archie, that company Williams, the one that flares out now.
Yep.
Do they use some of that water for their facility or not?
Very little.
Because you're not having that fresh water going back into Bayou Blue or whatever.
Yeah, if you went to the old marina, you can literally walk across it. It's that silted up right there.
So-
It gets a little bit better as you get further south, but
When you
that
get-
first chunk is pretty bad.
So you're gonna be dredging all that out?
Yes,
coming?
sir. Yep.
So Williams doesn't use any of that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
I just thought I'd ask, I didn't know. Okay,
Thank you,
thanks.
Mr. Lorraine. Anything else, President Chasson?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Chairman.
Item 36, with no further discussion, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams. Moving to item O, Parish President, Department Heads, Directors, and Managers Reports. Item 37, Finance Representative to present the monthly financial report as required by the state agreed-upon procedures for October 2022.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you guys should have got them by email. She does have a report. I'm just going to shut up and let her talk.
You have amendments from the floor to number 30. To fill in the little quote of everything. You don't
I might have.
you have a copy, but you can use mine.
So I need to read this.
Okay,
Go
royalty.
back and revote.
In the third quarter of 2022, LPG has received $886,468.18. In 2022, the third quarter shows an increase of $568,373.07, which is a 64.11 increase compared to third quarter of 2021. Road Sales Tax District A. In the third quarter of 2022, LPG has received $1,626,536.63. In 2022, the third quarter shows an increase of $290,821.17, which is a 17.88 increase compared to the third quarter of 2021. Skip one, didn't I? Yeah. Go back. Put them glasses on. Yes. Okay, for Road Sales Tax District 2. In the third quarter of 2022, LPG has received $897,006.44. In 2022, the third quarter shows an increase of $245,229.89, which is a 27.34 increase compared to the third quarter of 2021. Solid waste. In the third quarter of 2022, LPG has received $2,489,028.52. In 2022, the third quarter shows an increase of $572,862.57, which is a 23.02% increase compared to the third quarter of 2021. Parish Transportation. In the third quarter of 2022, LPG has received $224,048.71. In 2022, the third quarter shows an increase of $51,455.66, which is a 22.96% increase compared to the third quarter of 2021. General Fund. General Fund is showing a fund balance of $9,077,610.91 for the third quarter of 2022. Drainage. Drainage fund balance is showing $1,873,558.74 for the third quarter of 2022. Library is showing a good fund balance of $3,931,655.28. Solid waste, showing a fund balance of $17,770,944.01. That fund balance is due to receiving FEMA reimbursements, and those payments has been paid since then. So keep in mind that is still the third quarter of 2022, ending in September. Okay. Royalties fund balance for the third quarter of this year is $505,663.61. The charts are showing parish transportation and royalty, showing as far as the highest in parish transportation and royalty of 2022, showed in gray. The next slide is the sales tax comparison for the road sales districts as well as solid waste. 2022 is reflected in the pink, and you can see that all three of the road sales tax as well as solid waste is the highest in 2022. Thank you, and I'm ready for any questions.
Anybody with any questions? All right. Right now, I have a motion from Mr. Jones, second by Mrs. Chasson, to return to item number 36 on the agenda, as it was misread. So, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, being Mr. Adams. Okay, item number 36, resolution accepting the low quote of blank in the amount of blank for emergency dredging of Grand Bayou in LaRose, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any and all relevant documents. That motion was motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones. We do have an amendment on the floor from Mrs. Chasson, which reads, a resolution accepting the low quote of Weeks Marine Incorporated in the amount of $842,500.00 for emergency dredging of Grand Bayou in LaRose, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any and all relevant documents. That amendment from the floor is from Ms. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion on the amendment? All right, we're voting on that amendment, filling in the name and the price. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, being Mr. Adams. Now back to item 36. Motion by Mrs. Chasson, second by Mr. Jones, as amended. Any further discussion on 36 as amended? We'll take a vote on 36 as amended. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, being Mr. Adams. Have a motion from Mr. Oten, second by Mr. Araby, to return to item O, number 38 in the agenda. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, being Mr. Adams. Item O, number 38, Savanya Anderson, Human Resources Director, to present a report. Mrs. Anderson. Oh, yeah, I wrote all over it. I'm sorry.
Good evening. So for the Human Resources report, we're going to start off with our current workforce. So we currently have 335 positions at LPG. 303 are currently filled, leaving 32 vacancies. Of the 303 that's currently filled, 213 are classified, while 90 is unclassified. Unclassified will consist of department heads, community action, Head Start, and the coroner's office. And so we have a breakdown of the 32 vacancies here. We have hired about 26 new hires this year. 24 were to replace existing positions, while 2 were newly created positions. Now, you will notice that we have advertised more than 26 times, and that's due to the fact that sometimes when we offer candidates positions, they'll either decline the position, or at times they'll fail the pre-employment screenings, or the department head, after doing interviews, will feel that those candidates didn't qualify necessarily for the position that they were looking for. So we have re-advertised. So if you notice, we have hired 26 employees, but we have advertised for more. And so we are currently in a process of filling 11 positions. That will leave 21 positions still vacant. And so the department heads or the appointing authority will have the discretion to request those positions be filled as needed. Under the last administration, we had a 52% turnover rate. We had 9% in 2016, 12% in 2017, 16% in 2018, and 14% in 2019. We have decreased that about 19%. We're at a current 33% turnover rate under this current administration, starting from 2020 and up until current. So I broke down the years of our turnover. So on average, employers like to see a turnover rate of 10% or less. That's considered actually good. So you'll notice for 2 years, we were under the 10% threshold. For 2020, we had a 9% turnover rate. Under 2021, we had 14%, and then under 2022, we're back down under that 10% threshold to 9%. 2021 was very challenging, so what drove up our turnover rate was that some employees decided to relocate following the storm. We also had some, because we were still in the middle of a pandemic, we also had employees who decided that it was just best that they stay home with their families. So that spiked our turnover rates. When you look at the resignations, you want to look at the employees, what group of employees are leaving the most. And so for 2 years, you see that our highest number of turnovers were those employees that were employed with the parish for 1 year and under. So that was in 2020 and then in 2021. For 2022, the highest rate of turnover was among those employees that have been employed for between 2 to 4 years. On a national trend, 40% of workers do quit their jobs within the first year of employment. So that trend of seeing the larger group of turnover between the year and under employees is no really surprise. And millennials are twice as likely to quit their jobs compared to boomers. And also, I failed to mention in 2022, we did have a RIF. The litter abatement program ended, and so we did have to let go of 2 solid waste drivers. So that's what the reduction in force is, the RIF. Our current workforce. So currently, 59% of our workforce have been employed with the parish for 10 years and under. We have 24% that's been employed for 10 years or more, 10% 20 years or more, 5% 30, and then we have 2% 40 years or more. We are definitely trying to attract and retain top talent, so we have started attending local career fairs. We're also starting to advertise our job openings on various websites. I know we're starting to advertise on Fletcher website, so those new graduates that are coming out of Fletcher, they're actually able to see our job openings that we have, and we're going to also try to start going on Indeed as well. As far as our employees, we do have an open door policy, and so we came in under this administration with the open door policy. We we will occasionally visit the field offices because we wanted to hear and address the concern of our field office staff because we don't see those guys on a day-to-day basis, and we wanted them to know that their opinions were definitely valued. When we first went around, the first concern we heard was we got to change the insurance, and so as you will notice, we have did just that. So we're still going around, make sure that we're maintaining our relationships with employees, hearing their feedback, and making sure we address them. Also, we recently formed our parish president recently formed a partnership with Fletcher Technical Community College, where we can actually refer employees to Fletcher to take classes. It can range from mechanics, driving, operating equipment free of charge. A grant pays for it, but if we need employees to fill a higher role with the parish, we're able to refer them to Fletcher free of charge so they can gain those skills so that they can fill a higher role, and hopefully they will continue to work for the parish. So that's a partnership with Fletcher. Also, when you talk about compensation to attract and retain your top talent, employees for this fiscal year were able to receive up to a 7.5% increase. The national inflation rate was 8.5. So our employees received 7.5 increase for this fiscal year. In addition, they did not receive an increase in their insurance benefits. As you all know, the insurance increased by 8.9%, and the parish actually absorbed that entire cost. So starting in 2023, we still have a very competitive benefits package. 96% of the premiums is paid by the parish for employee-only coverage. 89% is paid for employee plus spouse. 90% is paid by the parish for employee and children, and then 89% for family coverage. So employees are paying a very small amount, and when you compare that to outside organizations, this is a very competitive plan, and our benefits are really rich. Manual revisions. Let's see. Okay. So we have manual revisions. So we did form a personnel committee, and they were actually able to go and look at the civil service manual and make recommendations. Those recommendations have been submitted to our Civil Service Director as well as the board. I know that at the next upcoming Civil Service meeting, they will be discussing the manual as far as the changes. And so I can provide you an update after the Civil Service Board meets on that. Also, our Administrative Policy and Procedure Manual have been updated as well, and it will be submitted to you all for your review and approval. Employee engagement, we try to create a fun and safe work atmosphere. So here are some pictures kind of capturing our employees in various activities. Some of the things we do on an annual basis is our annual holiday luncheon. We also were able to do a employee appreciation crawfish ball this year. Of course, we participate in the Nichols football activities, and we also do a health and wellness fair as well. And then also we definitely encourage employees to paint the town purple. We wear blue in support Autism Month. So we definitely do support national and local observances. I skipped. Okay, so what's next? We have Know Before, which is going to be a job-related training. So Know Before is an online software that will allow us to assign training to employees related to their job. So your field office staff won't necessarily have to take the same trainings as your office staff. And then also for the sexual harassment, I know a lot of complaints came in because people are only able to take the sexual harassment training while they are actually on the network. So if you're outside, if you're trying to take it at your house or away from an LPG network, you're not able to do it because the link are very unique to our network. So Know Before will allow us to actually assign training, and you can take the trainings anywhere. We're also wanting to do an employee self-portal. So the employee self-portal will allow employees to view their paychecks and their tax withholdings. You can also update your personal information such as your address, your phone numbers, email address. You're able to check your annual salaries and also your leave balances. And then you have, the next step we want to do is an electronic applicant portal. So currently we have a paper application process. And so if you wanted to apply for a job, you have to call and say, pull my application, or you have to actually come in and bring or mail in your application. So we're wanting to move away from the paper process and go into electronic process so that we can increase accessibility. So applicants that are outside of this parish or maybe away from here can still apply, and you can do it online. And then lastly, we talk about accomplishments. I don't know what a slide is, but I'll just go over it. We were able to move away from, well, we did a benefits enhancement. So we moved away from our GAP plan to our traditional medical plan back with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We also have a health and wellness fair. This year we actually pushed for full participation because we were wanting to build a true wellness plan. So we want to collect the data from our employees to see which of our areas that we need to focus on. Is it employees with high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, so we can hopefully provide incentives for employees to remain compliant and healthy. Also, we did as far as benefit management, we integrated technology into our open enrollment process. We changed it from face-to-face meetings to telephone, and now this year we had the online platform. Electronic timekeeping system, we went away from paper timesheets to paperless timesheets, and then we also have an internal newsletter as well. So that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Anybody with any questions for Ms. Anderson? Mr. Melvin?
Yes, ma'am, and I'm doing this mainly for people at home, but I know when you were talking about people taking the sexual harassment course online, after you mentioned the minute you said complaint, I mean, it was a complaint about the software not working. Y'all didn't receive a bunch of sexual harassment complaints.
Oh, no.
Making sure, because I want the public to realize that. Okay.
I'm talking about like being able to access it from your house. Last year, we had employees that waited until the last minute to take it, and then they were like, I can't take the training because you had to be on our network to take it.
Yes, ma'am. I know that. I just wanted to make sure, because I heard the two words kind of.
Thank you, Mr. Melvin. Anything else for Ms. Anderson? Thank you, Savanya. Okay, we'll move into item P, questions for the administration. Anyone? Mr. Melvin.
You know, Archie, who we talked to about parish lights? I mean, you know, just to backtrack a little bit, last year, or this year actually, Energy said, yeah, by the end of March 2022, lights are going to be on parish-wide. Boy, it felt good, you know. And I know you shouldn't give false projections and you should set a long goal. Then they changed it to the end of June of the second quarter, or at the end of the second quarter, which would have been June 30th. And look, I know I still have plenty of lights out, including my own street. There's 3, and I don't like to be the first one to get lights on, but my point is we're over a year later, and there's still a bunch of people, including myself, without lights. I've seen some trucks, I've seen some contractors. I'm like, I just can't put it together. I had somebody call me today who's an electrician, actually, who's changing their own lights and getting them turned back on another street. So I'm like, hey, that's real good input right there. They doing things. Any word on this? I know we met with Dr. Green.
That was probably a waste of time, but I don't have any good update. I'll send an email tonight after the meeting to Stacy and Paula and Al Galindo, who was up here a couple of times when Stacy was here, and kind of get a better update. I know most of them. I don't know, Daniel, if you still have some out.
Everything's out.
Everything's out, he said. But I'll try to get a good update, and I'll copy you guys on the email so you see the response.
And real quick, this is more of a question for recreational fishermen, but I know that I talk to people, get fishing reports, and I don't know, maybe Mitch knows if he's been there, but after the hurricane last year, people were like, well, I don't want to go to Basons because there might be some washing machines or this, that, and the other debris that's been moved, marsh, et cetera, unless you have a mud boat. Any word on how the navigation is down there? I mean, maybe Mitch, maybe you don't know.
It's a hit and miss, to be honest with you.
Literally?
Yeah, behind Basin, all the main channels are open. But after you get into the marsh, you need to be extremely careful, particularly with it at low tide. There was a lot of dredging that occurred for the oil companies to be able to get back to their structures and stuff like that. On the east side, I can't speak intelligently, but once you get further south, I know out of the Golden Medal launch on the west side, it's pretty wide open. There are a couple hazards under the water you just got to figure out, but for the most part, all the main channels are passable.
Okay, that's good, thank you. Just updating folks who like to fish down there from Thibodeau, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Melvin. Mr. Otan.
Yeah, so while we're talking about lights, I just would ask the parish president to please help the Lockport mayor poke Entergy on getting the 110 lines back up so we can get the Christmas decorations up on the lights and through the town. It's always a beautiful thing for us to do. Another thing, I just want to thank the administration publicly for calling a meeting yesterday as we started talking about the second phase of the Lafourche Community Center in Lockport. This is where we extend and do the ball fields, walking trail, and the pond that I mentioned earlier. Graciously called a meeting so that all the stakeholders, partners, community partners could meet with the engineers and everyone can have an input on how we go into this next phase. And I think getting the buy-in of the community is just huge, and I thank y'all for that.
Thank you, Mr. Otan. Mr. Grove.
I was just going to mention the lights. Mark's been very responsive, but the problem is they subbing this work out, Energy is, and they keep losing contractors. But the biggest, if we could just see what our list is at the pecking order, because what I'm having to do is follow up after 4 or 6 weeks with him, and sometimes they go the next day. I mean, I've been lucky with this at times, and they'll go and fix it. It works for 2 days, and then I got to call them back. But it helps that, we have the online portal where people can go in and put in a request themselves. But, I mean, that nobody's telling Mark from Energy that, hey, look, we got these, we knocked these out, and maybe they are when they say, look, we turned this one on yesterday, can you hurry up and get back over there? Maybe that's the only ones he's finding out. But, I mean, the answer's no to X. If we can ask for some kind of form that they can provide Gazette, that would help.
Thank you, Mr. Grove. Mrs. Chasson.
So I hate to reiterate what everyone else is saying, but yeah, the lights along the bayou, along LA 1 and 308, not just the street lights down people's streets, but we have some dangerous curves down there on LA 1 and 308 with no lights. It's a safety situation. There is a light right at the Cutoff Youth Center. I reported it like a month ago, and then I reported it again 3 weeks later, and it's still with broken wires to the transformer and strobing lights. It's like a rave party going on in our parking lot. It's fun, but still not done. So I don't know why, what's going on, what's happening. I know it's getting turned in. I don't understand why Energy's not coming through with it.
Thank you, Mrs. Chasson. Mr. Araby.
Chasson, I just want to echo what Bo Melvin said about street lights, because I was down some of my streets last night, and I do have several of them out on all the streets. But anyway, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing for me with the Highway 9182 project over there. I've been getting several phone calls about the trees that's in the teardrop, also. Plus, I've been seeing a lot of, remarks on Facebook about it. So I spoke with Mr. Chasson yesterday about contacting DOTD and finding out who is the landowner, and looks like DOT does own that land. So, Mr. Chasson said he's willing to send our equipment out there to try to clean it up, to try to make that issue, take care of that issue right there for the people that drive 182 and 90. So, hopefully in the near future, we'll be seeing some action take place over there. I know he's been sending emails, he's been copying me with emails and everything else. So hopefully we can get the trees taken care of, and that will add, some help to that issue. So, also, while I have the mic, I just want to go ahead and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and a safe Thanksgiving. Have a real good weekend. Oh, also, the 2 ribbon cuttings we had in my area over here a couple of weeks back for the workout center and the Scenic Overlook Wharf and that big old other wharf we have there, you know. Well, thank you all for all that. Getting that taken care of. That Scenic Wharf has been a project that's been going on for about 10, 12 years now, I guess. But we finally, I lived long enough to see it, so hopefully I can continue going. But again, thank the administration for everything y'all doing for us, and Archie, just keep me posted on where we at with the tree cutting. Thank you.
And I will, Mr. Arabi, I'm hoping that, I don't know how the state's working with Thanksgiving, but I'm hopeful that sometime between Christmas and Thanksgiving, we can knock that out with our equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Arabi. Mr. Jones.
Yes, Mike spoke with the energy representative. He'll be back in Thibodeau area the week of December the 5th for the lights. Be looking for him. Also, Archie, on the FEMA demolition, you had any update on that?
So we hope to have the FEMA crews or the debris crews back in town between Thanksgiving and Christmas. In May, we turned over 150 packets. We've only gotten about 30 of them approved by FEMA. So we're gonna tackle them little bit by little bit, but we're working on it slowly. It's FEMA dragging their feet. That's the toughest part.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, the trash trucks are coming back from, for the storm debris.
So we're going to do that on a very limited basis. While they're knocking down the houses in the first 30 or so that we've gotten approved, we may pick up some sideline stuff, but it's not going to be much.
Yeah, because also everybody got lights out. But I don't have any lights at the Gula Meta launch or the Leeville launch. And I talked to that lady at the Port Commission meeting. Mm-hmm. She was going to take care of it. She might have went to the wrong boat launch, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I keep submitting and submitting and submitting. So about a month ago, I turned in a work order, a little blueprint that I drew up to put some no parking signs in Gula Meta. There's a problem there because you got the kayaks coming, the fishes biting in the hole, you got the crabbers. It's fixing to erupt over there, I can tell you that. And if I could get those signs put up, that would help out. Because they have no signs and they park all over and everybody's blocked. And so what's the word on that? I know we were supposed to fix that boat launch and a pier. That's out the question. At least fix the wharf in the middle. Somebody is going to get hurt. Because we got a big piece of iron frame, but they're going through there, getting on there. Somebody's going to really get hurt.
Yeah, so the first time we bid the project out, there were 0 bidders. The second time we bid the project out, what was supposed to be a couple $100,000 project turned into about a $700,000 project.
Right.
So we threw that out. So now we're working on just the 2 wharves and getting those fixed up. But I'll check with Wayne at the Galena Field Office about those signs.
So if you remember right when I sat down with you and Mitch, the administrator, I brought that up. If it's too much or it's over budget, at least fix the one where they got the big piece of iron that people's going through and use, because somebody's really going to get hurt there.
Yes, sir.
And then what about the Leeville one?
So
the only time we addressed that when the governor came. So I'm going to have to get him to come back.
Joe and them are working on the project. We hope to go out to bid with the full revamp of the pier right after the first of the year.
Because you know what some people told me? They got people walking to get to the end, and it's pretty rough. It's 75% complete with no pier. But a lot of people, you know how people are, they're walking through there, and if somebody gets hurt, I see a lot of lawyers commercial on TV. So, but anyway, whatever you could do, and everybody have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. We're moving on to Q, Parish President's final comments. Mr. Parrott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I have tonight, and Councilman Adams in here, but we've gotten a bunch of calls about the road work on Choctaw Road. For whatever reason, the contractor turned it into a rumble strip. But we met with the engineer today. He's working with the contractor, and we're going to get that fixed. Other than that, y'all have a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving.
Same to you, sir. Thank you. Item R, adjournment on a motion by Mr. Jones, second by Mrs. Chasson, that with no further business, the Lafourche Parish regular council meeting of November 22nd, 2022 be adjourned. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence being Mr. Adams at 6:30 PM.